On this episode, we talk overtime rules and how a judge put a stop to it. Legrand's employees are saving them tons of money. And there's some cool stuff called bioadaptive lighting that you totally need in your house.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
ResiWeek, episode number 43. Triple bottom line. This episode of ResiWeek brought to you by Access Networks. Welcome to ResiWeek. This is your weekly wrap-up of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by a couple of really great people. First, we have Alex Capisolantro. He is the co-founder and CEO of Josh AI. Alex, how are you today?
Doing great, and you got my name perfect too. Thank you.
Yes, that was the whole goal of today's show, was not to screw that up. Next, we have Richard Fregosa. He is a really good friend of mine, but two, he's the principal and founder of Fregosa Designs. How are you, sir?
Good. Mellow West Coast post-Thanksgiving greetings. So
you're much more mellow than I am today. I seem to be very high on energy.
It's a West Coast thing, man.
I know. Can't do it. Last but certainly not least, we have Tim Albright. He's the founder of AVNation.tv, the little place that gave me a show. Hi, Tim.
Hey. Hello, sir.
How are you?
I am well, and you got my last name right, too.
I know. I'm on a roll today. Let's kick this off. It's kind of a big deal as I'm loading it up here. This just was announced literally minutes ago by our friend Jason Knott over at CE Pro. A federal judge is blocking the $47,000 overtime exemption law. This was set to take effect December 1st to raise the threshold, if you don't know about this. So everybody who is making less than $47,000, you'd have to pay overtime to. This is, as I said, blocking it and dropping, keeping it at the existing level of 23.5. So, Alex, is this a really big deal for integrators?
I think so. I mean, fortunately, I'm on the manufacturing side, so for my employees, we're not necessarily going to be hit too directly by this. We end up paying engineering salaries quite often, so prices are way above that threshold most of the time. But for a lot of the integrators we work with, it's certainly something that's being discussed, and I think this announcement's good, but what the announcement is talking about, right, is rectifying what I think would be bad for the industry.
Very good. Richard, you've been in the biz a long, long time. Sure, you've had your experiences with, techs and entry-level guys that are making this sub, 47,000 range. Is this better for the owner or ownership, or is this going to be better in the long run for the employees?
Well, I think that the hardest part, if you talk to any small integrator, that they have is keeping people. They spend a whole lot of time training them. They spend a whole lot of time getting them up and running, and then invariably, I mean, I remember when I broke in, they got me dirt cheap, and I knew it. But there was a certain point where my skill set allowed me to reach a different income threshold. But that wasn't necessarily something that somebody else might have available to them. And so here's the West Coast vibe thing again, but in terms of the equity, in terms of maintaining a workforce, especially here in California, I mean, our cost of living is so ridiculous that, this doesn't necessarily apply just because of where we are in the Bay Area. In other parts of the country, I could see it being, people are being affected. I mean, our labor rate and our technician rates and our salaries are obviously commensurate with the cost of living here, which is obviously quite different than maybe somewhere in the South or in the Midwest. In the major metropolitan areas, which is where a large part of our industry is focused, I don't know if it's going to be as as much of a huge impact. But I think in the smaller markets, yeah, this is something definitely to look out for, and it's going to cause a lot of the employers to, well, and more importantly, and I think better run their businesses better. I mean, this has been the natural evolution about running your business better and maturing as a business. And part of that is maintaining, a qualified and well-compensated workforce.
Tim, as somebody who is based in the Midwest,
Mm-hmm.
where, as Rich just said, this may be more applicable. Obviously when they brought this out, there was a lot of noise in the industry about how this was going to affect the bottom line and affect dealers. Is this something where the salary cap numbers that they were using were out of line? Or is it something where they should have split the difference?
Wow, split the difference. So the mark that they were setting at, the federal rule set at was 47,000. That just below 50,000. I still remember my first job 25 years ago. I barely made this. The minimum it's at now at 23,000. Right. We are very inexpensive in the Midwest. I have come to find out over the last 5 or 10 years, in talking with buddies like Rich Fregoso and talking to our friend George Tucker and Chris Netto out in New Jersey and New York. Yes, we're incredibly inexpensive. However, finding a decent tech that is going to put you right in that middle if you want to split the difference. So quick math, 23 to 47 is roughly $24,000 difference. So you got $12,000 there. So it's going to put you just south 35. Of 40 grand. That's going to be in the average, entry level tech, and some beginning design engineer jobs here, and even some beginning programming jobs. So you're still going to have a good swath of your workforce that's going to be affected if they do split the difference, as you said, and around the $36,000 mark.
So I guess my biggest question coming out of this is, is this something that is just hard for, and anybody can answer this, is this something that's just going to, no matter what they do with it, make it harder on the employers, or is it going to be a hindrance to onboarding new employees?
I don't think it should be a hindrance to onboarding new employees. I think what it is it gives employers a little bit more pause maybe when they're bringing people up through the ranks and giving them an increase. You look at what they're saying in this federal law, anybody that makes this, salary or not, anybody that makes this gets overtime. I've been salaried for a good portion of my career, never got overtime, right? Regardless of anything. And so if, the 2 or 3 jobs ago that I had, they would be forced then to give me overtime regardless of whether I was salaried or not.
Right. Very good. Let's move on to another great article that comes to us from Residential Systems. Legrand employees save $79,000 in Energy Marathon 2.0. This was a company-wide challenge that ran over the course of 26 days in October to see which location of Legrand North America could reduce its energy cost. Now, the company as a whole in North America saved or reduced its energy use by almost 16% since over those 26 days in October versus the same time frame in September. And what was interesting as you scroll down and read through this article is there are 3 winning sites, one from each manufacturing, distribution, and manufacturing, warehousing, and their offices. All 3 of them saved just over 40%. Rich, is this just a fun, team building exercise, or does this speak to a bigger point with essentially how lazy or maybe not lazy, but how wasteful people are with energy?
I think that's definitely something that we're discovering, is that being energy conscious, it's available and there's savings available. Just today, our city council here in San Leandro, we just approved a tech initiative where they're going to be deploying citywide a bunch of energy saving measures. They're bringing a company on, And I want to say the overall amount that they were going to invest in the infrastructure updates was $5.6 million. The interesting part was that the way that the proposal was sent out is that the companies who came in basically had to prove that the system would pay for itself. And the company that was picked, it showed that over a 10-year period, that basically all of these infrastructure initiatives are taken are going to wind up paying for themselves. And it was simple stuff like changing out lampposts for LED bulbs, smart irrigation in parks. So, there are all of these things that we're finding out and truly, and not going on the IoT bandwagon, but this is that first level, and that we're starting to see that initiative start to come through. I mean, you're seeing more and more solar panels that are becoming available. We were out gold panning the other day, and I was really surprised when we were in the gold country in this agricultural area. Everywhere we looked, there were solar panels. And so we're seeing more and more that these initiatives are starting to take hold, and people are starting to understand that, we do have to conserve our resources, and there's a way to actively do it without even necessarily bringing in new equipment just yet. But it's just the ability to gauge what you're doing. And Legrand and several of the other companies. I mean, you've got Blue Bolts, you've got Middle Atlantic, you've got even Snap AV is doing some of the stuff where they're able to measure the consumption that's coming in. And you can actively look and say, hey, where's the power being wasted? So I think this is just the beginning. I think it's great. And, I hope to see more of it from other manufacturers and from integrators and promoting this, because this is a real world benefit and part of what we should be doing and presenting as an industry.
Very good. Alex, is this something, because obviously these three winning sites had massive reductions. Is this something that is, in your opinion, more achievable because of the competition aspect, or are some of these numbers reachable in a real world day-to-day application?
Oh, it's totally reachable. I mean, for every corporation and pretty much every household, the thing that's interesting is it really is about that triple bottom line, right? The idea is you are saving electricity, which is saving the environment, but you're also saving money, and you're making the employees or the people who reside in that household or building, making their lives better. And so what I find really interesting is the first time I visited Apple's headquarters, I remember expecting that they were going to have just crazy technology on their doors and in their bathrooms. And as I walked around, and I was just disappointed. I walked around and thought, this place feels dated. And that's been my experience in a lot of these companies. With us, we're a very new company. We don't have a giant headquarters, and yet we use our technology to run our building. So every night on the weekdays, the whole office shuts down by a scene that gets triggered. The air conditioning goes into echo mode, the lights turn off, if music's on, it shuts off. In the morning, certain things automatically open, shades open up, all that kind of stuff. And I think our industry, if we're not dog fooding our own products, if we're not using this internally to make our own environments better, how are we going to do it for customers? So I think what Legrand's doing here is great, and I hope we see more of this.
Very good. Tim, is this something where, kind of what Alex said, where we as integrators might be accountable a little bit for not making use of this technology ourselves, and by extension, not in a great place to encourage our clients to do the same?
Well, it goes back to something that you've tried to teach me for years, and that's the importance of lighting, right? And lighting. And I'm not being silly here, but I come from education and then into the world of programming, and lighting, except in the cases when I had to interface, with an eagle eye or eagle
graphic eye.
Graphic eye. Thank you.
You're welcome. I got you.
But those were my interfaces with lighting, and the importance of making sure that daylighting happens, where you've got a photo cell that you're seeing whether or not what the brightness in the room actually is from the ambient light, and making lighting changes based on that, raising and lowering the shades, things of this nature. Alex makes a great point about dog fooding. If you're not doing this, if you have a showroom and you're not showing it, you're missing an opportunity. If you don't have a showroom and you don't have it in your house, then maybe, or you don't have a place where somebody can come and experience it, you're missing an opportunity. Or if you don't take them to an experience center or a space somewhere in your local region. I think of New York and I think of LA, because a lot of control manufacturers specifically, have spaces in New York. And a lot of display manufacturers have spaces in New York where you can take folks and they can experience the technology there. So dog fooding is very important because not only can you tell people what it does, but also how you live with it. What does it look like on a day in and day out basis? Alex mentioned the fact that when they go home at night, a timer trigger, I'm assuming it's some sort of time-based, Alex, where at a certain time systems go off. Well, if you don't have that in your office, or you don't have that in your showroom or in your own home, how can you explain that to a client in a real world scenario and really talk like you know what you're talking about?
Very good. I know for ourselves, we've had lighting control even in our own home and in our offices for years, and it's something that clients always ask what you do in your house and how you live. And every time I run into an integrator that doesn't play with this stuff on their own, I remind them that they can't really explain it if they haven't lived it.
Well, and I'll bring up another guy that is on the show a lot, and that's Todd Puma. Todd and Richie is another great example of this. Richie has his lab as his house, right? Richie has told me for years and years and years he doesn't put anything in a system that he hasn't put in his own home. Now, Richie has some very interesting things in his house that have not worked out over the last few years, but he's got some really great stuff too. But see, that's the nice thing about doing it that way, right? Is what works, and what works in real people's lives because you really lived it.
Well, yeah, and that real world experience is key. But staying on the lighting topic, let's swing over to hidden wires. And this comes from CEDIA. It's based on a white paper that talks about integrating bioadaptive lighting. This is something that's coming kind of down the pipe. It's still fairly fresh, fairly new. But the concept of biolighting or bioadaptive lighting is that it adapts the color temperature of lighting to reflect either the mood or the desired feeling that you or the end user is trying to achieve. So when you're looking for, in the winter up here in Canada where we don't get a lot of sun, we can go with a much higher wavelength light that more accurately depicts sunlight. Whereas when you're trying to go to sleep, you don't want sunlight. You want something much, much softer. Rich, is this something that is this something that's on the cutting edge, or is this something that is more, I don't want to say toyish, but is it something that's just a passing fad?
I think it's a sell-through feature. I think it's like anything else. It's a matter of education, and it becomes more a matter of again, how simply can you deploy it and integrate it, and does it create value? To some people, this might not make a difference to them. I have certain clients where specifically we shut down the Wi-Fi in the house during certain periods of time because even though it's untested, even though we don't necessarily have the studies to show whether Wi-Fi is going to affect our health or not, it still was a concern for a couple of these clients that they'd rather just not deal with RFI at all. And so, is that one out of 500 or 600 clients that I've had that request? Yeah, it's pretty rare, but that was something that was important to them. I feel the same way about features like this. It's like anything else. Is the purpose of our industry is to be able to facilitate those needs that our clients find important to maintain their lifestyle. It's not up to me to decide what they are. It's up to me to introduce them to it, let them decide if there's value, and then go ahead and procure and facilitate for them. And that's the goal of what we should be doing as integrators always, is that it's a matter of making the options available, educating them enough to make a decision, and then giving them a roadmap if they decide to or not.
Alex, this is something that it's not it's not widely distributed yet. It's not widely available, but obviously Joss AI tailors to a higher end client. Is this something that you guys have come across yet?
Oh, absolutely. And, we're very focused on learning and how the system can get more intelligent over time. But I do have to put out the caveat. I actually was involved in helping to write this white paper. I serve on CEDIA's Tech Council and Peter very well. So I got to take an early look and provide some feedback. there's a lot going on here. It's not one piece of technology. The first piece that I think is really interesting is just the idea of adjusting the dimmer depending on the time of day. So for example, if you go into your living room and it's, in the morning and you turn the light switch on, you're probably expecting something different than at 2 in the morning where you don't want to get blinded by a bright light. Or if someone's coming in to clean, you want to turn all the lights on. And so there's the idea that the light should adapt depending on the time of day. And that's actually a really important thing because it really changes how happy the end user is when they turn the lights on, if it matches what they're expecting at the right moment. The second piece, though, is there are real health benefits to having the color temperature, the light temperature change depending on what's going on. So there have been studies that show if you have the lights change over the course of a meal from your starter to your main entree to your dessert, and over time they're getting warmer, you're actually influencing the mood and the emotions of the people sitting around that table. And it's interesting because when you're in that room, you don't even notice that you're in more of a blue room or more of a red room, but it does actually impact how calm people can be, how excited people can be. And so there are signs that show if you're not getting enough sunlight, you are more likely to get depressed, and you can fight that through bioadaptive lighting. So there's some really interesting things. The biggest issue, though, is it's unique to every home, it's unique to every room, and it's unique to every person. And so it takes a lot of real machine learning and artificial intelligence to get right. So I think we're going to see baby steps. We're going to see this release very slowly over the next 3 to 5 years. We're not going to wake up and it's going to be a fully featured product tomorrow. But I think we're going to see it for a long time coming.
Very good. This is definitely something that I love, being a lighting guy. Tim, is this something that you're looking forward to in a couple of years, being able to walk into a Lowe's potentially and get an IoT bioadaptive light source?
Yeah, yes and no. And I'll say yes from the DIY part of my brain, who loves to pick up stuff and do stuff in my house and make my wife's life a living hell in all the little gadgets and gizmos that I put on our system. No, from the fact of working with guys with you, like you guys and Richie and Alex, where guys like me will do that and then call you up on Monday morning or Sunday afternoon and go, holy crap, Matt, nothing in my house works. You have to fix it because it's Super Bowl Sunday, and it's the end of the world if I can't watch, this thing. I love that idea because being in the Midwest, we have weird seasons, right? Sometime around usually daylight savings time is when it will be pitch black by 5 or 5:30, and there are friends of mine who have where that will affect them emotionally. So if you can do stuff like that, like Alex was talking about, and change their mood by changing the color, I think that'd be a great thing. Very
good. Yeah, we get come middle of winter, we'll get dark by like 4 o'clock.
Oh yeah,
it's fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah, and Rich is sitting out in a lawn chair at like 9 o'clock at night. So
yeah, because it's 75 degrees.
Exactly.
He's loving it.
Right now, we're actually entering into our season called not warm.
Not warm. So what is it, like 65, 70?
We had rain today.
We had warm rain today.
I will say I was in Yosemite 2 days ago in 30-something odd degree weather in shorts, and I was happy. So
that's fantastic. All right, let's finish up with the couple predictions for the holiday season. This comes to us from the one and only Julie Jacobson over at CE Pro. Argus Insights analyze social chatter and product reviews to determine this season's winners and losers in smart homes. And guess what? Security was a big winner. Specifically video doorbells. They are expecting them to dominate this year, with adoption rates potentially around 200+% compared to last year. Rich, again, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago leading up to your Thanksgiving and Black Friday and things such as that. Do you see any perceivable increase for integrators with predictions such as this? When you start talking video doorbells, you start thinking Doorbird, maybe Skybell, Ring. these are all products that don't always need an integrator. Is this something that you see being effective for integrators when reports like this come out?
Absolutely.
And there goes Rich. Absolutely, and he dropped. So let's move on. Alex, same question to you.
I think he just came back. If we want to give him a shot.
Take his thunder. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of mixed feelings. Right now, we're very much priced towards the high end. We sell exclusively through integrators, and that's the channel that we're fully embracing. And I think it's a channel that makes sense, and we sort of understand the pipeline. We're sort of watching as these DIY products are coming out and actively talking to our customers and trying to figure out, at what level do they want to do things more on their own versus do they want, if possible, do they want to even try versus having someone come in. And what we keep seeing is the rise of the do it for me type movement, where any consumer could install their own Apple TV. It, is quite frankly pretty simple, yet most of our customers just don't. It might be that they don't have time, they don't want to, they just don't care, but they like the idea that they can bring in an integrator who can do that, as well as touch up everything else in their home. And so at the high end, I don't really see the rise of DIY products to be a real concern. I think it only opens up more opportunities and more types of products that these homeowners want. What I wonder about and what I think is really interesting is it's creating a new market segment for the smart home. In the past, if you had a one-bedroom apartment, you were not going to put in a Crestron system. And I think that's still true today. But could you put in your own Sonos Play One, your own Ring doorbell, your own Nest thermostat? The answer is becoming more yes. It's not fully a yes, but it's becoming more true. And so I think the awareness is great. I think these products are causing the higher end products to really think about coming down in price and becoming more appealing to a wider array of consumers. And so all in all, I think it's definitely a net positive, but we do need to think about the reality of you're not really going to make money selling, a $150 DIY product directly. It's part of the whole service package.
Very good. Rich, you left as soon as you answered the question, but you're back now.
I am back.
Do you see these kind of things? The other thing that I pointed out was that Z-Wave has been dominating the wireless options and the standards for smart home. Do you see both these products and these reports coming out helpful for integrators, and B, do you like to see that Z-Wave kind of seems to be taking over?
I love Z-Wave. I mean, it's no secret that both Tim and I have a great fondness for the Z-Wave Alliance and Mr. Klein. And one of the things that I got to say is that it's absolutely. I mean, just anecdotally speaking, I got a couple of calls the past few days about integrating door stations, and so there's the two camps. There's going to be the three camps really. I mean, there's the do-it-yourself, which isn't necessarily going to be from the integrator standpoint. There's the do-it-for-me. And that may be where clients are asking, they have an existing system, but maybe they don't want a standalone app. They're looking at a way to integrate it. So some of the DIY products aren't working, but it opens up the conversation to companies like 2N, who's making a great door station that is working very hard to integrate a lot more seamlessly with some of the established integration companies out there. And then there is, as Mitch coined very well during an interview at CEDIA, the do-it-with-me crowd. And there's that middle ground where the client is coming in and it's an opportunity to say, look, yeah, you can maybe do it, but there's going to be some hangups. There's some technical issues with this. There's some things beyond just plug and play. As much as the marketing materials try to tell you otherwise, there becomes the service and the value added service. And that becomes a segment for integrators, is that value added service. It along the same line of, yeah, you can buy a television and yeah, you can buy a TV mount, but do you really want to do it? So, it becomes a matter of where's the value and creating the value for the client and saying, you have an opportunity. Do you really want to spend all your time doing this stuff, or would you rather be at work doing the things that you get compensated for and allow me to take care of it for you, so when you come home, you're good to go? And it's constantly the story that has to be relayed. And I think that integrators get a little too caught up in that cycle of all the stuff. and it's going to knock out my business. And how am I going to compete with this? And I'm not going to make any money. And they start taking an adversarial approach with their clients. And there has to be that shift. This is not going to change. There are not going to be less of these products on the market. There's only going to be more of them. Case in point, there's a little cylinder sitting behind me that, along with several other little cylinders. Why? Because I have gotten 30 calls in the past month about that little cylinder. And I will say, it was a couple of months ago, I wasn't sure about it. And I said, I don't think so. Had it in the house, and there's a 6-year-old who's really enjoying going, hey, house off, and screwing with things. But that's the next part that I've got to figure out, is how to prevent, the house from the 6-year-old.
Beta testing.
Yeah. But from a
beta
but from
testing by a
standpoint,
6-year-old.
But again, this is, Josh IA, fantastic product. We did a great interview with them, taking a completely different approach.
And there he goes. It's a good approach.
It's a great approach.
It's a great approach. All right, Tim, I'm going to give you kind of the last word. Richie said he only had 30 minutes, and he's gone. He's out the door.
He's out.
30 minutes and done. So yeah, I'm telling you, even my technology is telling me. Yeah, I must have told Alexa to turn off my internet.
Tim, the last thing that was interesting about this report was that they can tell that home automation hubs aren't getting the visibility, and end users are noting that the hubs and the kits and all that stuff seems to be challenging for the end users, where they can go get a doorbell from Ring or somebody like that. They can go get a Nest or an Ecobee or whatever other thermostat they want. They can go get a couple lights, and they can make those single-use products work. Looking at kind of the do it for me or do it with me side of things, does that still continue to bode well for people?
For integrators?
Yeah,
absolutely. Because here's the thing, and it goes off of what Richie said, and he and I will both be the ones to tell you that Mitch Klein is the one who kind of drilled that into us at CEDIA this year, was the whole do it with me. Integrators have lost margin year after year after year after year. It is I'm gonna say it's over, but you need to start looking beyond. And I am not the first nor the last person to say that. But here is a perfect opportunity for that. You have somebody coming to you and saying, look here, please help me do this. They're not asking you to do it for free, right? You're going to get paid for your service, for your knowledge, for your experience, for the ability to integrate, the key word there in the word integrator, integrate all these disparate products under Josh AI, under Control4, under however you want to do it. But that is the magic, and that is the artistry and the science behind what these wonderful integrators do, is they take all these parts and they make them work together. That's what people have done for years. This is no different than that, whether it's a Ring doorbell or it's a Nest or whatever, or an Alexa. Making all these things work together seamlessly is what you guys have done for years. Just keep doing it. Regardless of how much margin you're making on the boxes, you make your money on the services part, right? Where in your smarts and in your knowledge and the ability to service your customer the best way.
Very good. That is gonna do it for today, because Richie's got to go.
Richie's
got stuff to do. Thank you, gentlemen.
I got doorbells to put in today.
Doorbells to put in, things to that's awesome. Things to integrate. You got stuff. Make it happen. He's got stuff. Thank you for joining us today, gentlemen. Alex, where can people connect with you?
Website's josh.ai. We've got all our information there, but Twitter, Facebook, etc. Or just email me, alex@josh.ai.
Beautiful. Uncle Richie, where can people find you if they somehow are under a rock and have never heard of you before?
Under a rock and they've never heard of Uncle Richie.
They've never talked to you before?
Obviously, you can find me on Twitter at @rfregosa, Fregosa Design. I just want to say one quick thing. Josh AI.
You have a time limit, man.
I know, man, but this is important. I wanted to say, because I didn't get a chance.
I just don't want you to blame me.
My internet cut me off. Alexa got jealous. I was about to say how fantastic Josh AI is in terms of the product that they're putting out. And I don't want to misspeak, but I want to say that the acronym you're using is NLP, Natural Language Programming.
Processing.
Natural Language Processing. Where if if you haven't had a chance to check them out, they are taking what we're seeing with some of these do-it-for-me products and absolutely taking it to the next level, not only with new systems, but with existing systems. And really glad that you're on, because I am absolutely fascinated by the project that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Other than that, I gotta go.
Gotta go. Bye, Richie. Thank you. Tim, where can people connect with you?
Twitter, probably the best way. T as in Tim, David Albright on Twitter, or AVNation.
Beautiful. As for myself, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on Twitter, as well as pretty much every other social platform. Just search that name. You'll probably find me. More importantly, though, please stop by avnation.tv. You'll find this show, as well as a wide variety of other shows that cover all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the site, please take a moment to check out our underwriters. We are extremely thankful for their generous support, and we'd like you to support them as well. That's all the time we have for this week's episode of ResiWeek.